Okay, so the next chapter that we're going to start into is entitled Structures That Control Flow. And this very first lesson, we're looking at relational and logical operators. All right, relational and logical operators allow us to evaluate a condition. And conditions are Boolean expressions. So we could say that two items might be equal. One might be greater than the other. One might be less than another. And those are all examples of relational operators. Logical operators. So I'll put a little list together here. So relational operators, excuse my typing here. Examples, less than, greater than, equals. We also have not equal to, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. All right. And then we also have logical operators. And you might be more familiar with logical operators. Relational operators are arithmetically oriented, more for comparing numbers. And if you think back to our unit on ASCII, letters are also numbers too, because we have them. We have the ASCII code that we use with that. But our relational operators tend to be and, or, and not. So we might say this condition is true and this condition is true. Or with relational operators, this condition is greater than this condition. All right. So I think the best way to, as you kind of run through this material, and I have the idle interface for Python opened up, and I'm working with that, and I'm going to turn to page 400, and I'm looking at example. Write this again, page 400, and this is example 6. And I'm just going to play with some of these operators, okay? So if you take a look at this, let's suppose n has some value. Okay, so we're going to create a variable n, and in this particular example has a value of 4. Okay? And so I'll just go through and do some of these exercises. So let's say I have 2, and I'm going to use both relational operators here. We'll start with the relational operator. Is 2 less than n? Okay, there's a relational operator. And so now my Python compiler or my interpreter is going to take a look at that expression, and it will say, well, that's true, of course. All right? Or we could say something like n, is it less than 6? And the answer to that's going to be true. All right? Now let's combine relational operator and a logical operator. So I'll say 2 is less than n. Whoops. And n is less than 6. Okay, so it's got to evaluate a couple things. And so with and, both statements need to be true. Both conditions need to be true, and they are. All right, so 2 is less than n, and 6 is greater than n. Okay, so both those are true, and so that'll be true. Okay, or we could look at something else here. Let's try b. So 2 is less than n again. We'll say or n is equal to 6. Okay. Now note that these operators, we look at relational operators, we use 2 equal signs rather than 1. All right. And when we assign a value, we use 1. So if we assign a value to a variable, we use 1. If we're going to compare, we use 2 equal signs. All right. So let's look at that. Is 2 less than n? The answer is yes. And is n equal to 6? Well, answer that's no. But look at the logical operator behind them. Only one of those 2 conditions need to be true, so that's going to be true. All right, and let's do another one here. Let's look at not. All right, and this is the example C. And this would give you the opposite. So is n less than 6? And the answer is yes, but we're looking for the opposite of that, or it cannot be that value. All right? So then that particular expression is false. Let's do one more here. So if I say 2 is less than n, which we know is true, and n is equal to 6, which we know is not true. So now we have an and as our logical operator, and we're going to find that, of course, that's going to be false. Okay, so my point in putting this together for you here is give you a little bit more information about relational operators, logical operators, and in our next lesson we will go ahead and use those. We'll use a conditional statement. So if this condition is true, then we'll tell the computer to go do something. All right. The other point to this little exercise here is to show you another way of reading your book. Rather than just sit in an easy chair and read it, actually grab some of these exercises and play with them a little bit. All right, and that's all I'm doing. So here's an example of the text. So give it some work with it. All right. In fact, I could also do print. See what this looks like. So print, and in here we could say is 2 less than n. What will that give us? Oh, going to show us true as well, okay, because we're going to print whatever is found inside that, okay? So play with this. There's lots of examples in the chapter, and then your exercise out of this is to analyze a bunch of these relational and logical operators as they're set up with various conditions.